Chosen one, heaven witnessed something extraordinary this morning, while the world stirred slowly awake. Your spirit moved before your body did. You thought it was just another morning, a quiet moment, a stretch, a breath, but heaven saw a surge of light rise from your dwelling. You may not realize it, but what you did this morning reached farther than the sun's first rays. Every motion of obedience, every whisper of gratitude, every decision to rise instead of remain still, it all became a declaration in the spirit realm. You see, when others turned away, you turned toward the light. When others silenced the voice of conviction, you leaned in and listened. And that single choice to stand, to keep believing, to move in faith shook the corridors of heaven. Angels paused. The divine council leaned forward. God himself looked upon you with surprise, not because he did not know your potential, but because you finally walked in it. You awakened with a spark of purpose that the world could not comprehend. Maybe you didn't pray loudly. Maybe you didn't shout. But even in silence, heaven felt your agreement. You chose hope. You chose love. You chose not to give up. That act alone has begun a ripple across time. For faith, when practiced quietly, is louder than thunder in the courts of the Most High. Heaven records moments differently from earth. Down here, it looks like you simply started your day. But in the unseen, your obedience this morning became a trumpet blast announcing the chosen one still stands. There are records in heaven written about such mornings. Days when you refuse to bow to fear. Days when your worship drowns out despair. Days when your tears become a fragrance before the throne. This was one of those mornings. Your rising wasn't ordinary. The air changed around you. The spiritual atmosphere adjusted its posture. Every doubt that hovered over you last night retreated as the first light of your faith broke through. You might have thought God was silent, but he was watching, waiting for you to do exactly what you did today, rise again. And as the prophet wrote in the scroll of Isaiah, chapter 60, verse 1, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you." Do you understand what happens when you walk in alignment? Even the smallest motion, if done with faith, carries eternal consequence. You didn't just wake up, you activated an entire sequence of blessings. Every act of surrender opens a door. Every moment of gratitude releases new strength. You may not see it yet, but angels are already moving along the path your faith paved this morning. It wasn't random that your mind felt clearer today. It wasn't coincidence that peace settled over you after so many restless nights. Heaven didn't just notice, it responded. The fragrance of your persistence reached the throne. And the Father whispered, "They are ready. Ready for the next instruction. Ready for the next elevation. Ready to carry a greater anointing." There are mornings that go unnoticed, but not this one. This was a divine announcement that you are stepping into your next season. God has watched you fight unseen wars, face storms with trembling hands, and still say, "I trust you." That is what caught his attention. You did not need to move mountains today. You just needed to stand on one. The light that rose from you this morning was not just symbolic, it was tangible in the spirit. Every time you choose peace over panic, faith over fear, you alter the environment around you. The enemy counts on your silence and surrender. But this morning, you defied his plans without even realizing it. That's why you felt that sudden calm. That's why you sensed something different in the air. Heaven responded because obedience always gets God's attention. So don't underestimate what happened today. Your obedience has already opened doors that your eyes have not yet seen. The heavens are in motion, aligning circumstances and hearts in your favor. What looked small was actually seismic. What seemed routine was sacred. Chosen one. This is your reminder. Nothing done in faith is ever wasted. Every morning that you rise and choose to keep going, you testify to the faithfulness of God. He sees it, He honors it, and He multiplies it. Your steps are now echoing through eternity. Now, take a deep breath. Feel the weight of that truth settle in your spirit. You are seen. You are known. You are chosen. The same power that raised Christ from the dead is working in you this very moment. Your simple act of rising has become a message. Heaven is listening. If this message speaks to your soul right now, don't scroll away. Like this message. Share it so others can awaken as you did. And comment below to declare your alignment with heaven's movement. Then, subscribe to stay connected, because your journey as God's chosen one has only just begun. Comment 777 below as a prophetic act. Heaven sees your number and knows your name. The morning carried something weightier than words could hold. You didn't realize it when you opened your eyes, but the atmosphere shifted around you. What seemed ordinary was sacred. What felt quiet was being recorded in eternity. Heaven had already arranged its gaze toward you. Every breath you took, every thought you surrendered, every choice you made drew divine attention. You see, the kingdom does not applaud noise, it honors faithfulness. And faithfulness is exactly what heaven saw this morning. In a world addicted to movement and chaos, you carried stillness like a flame. You didn't chase the crowd. You waited for the whisper. That single act of waiting, of listening, moved the heart of God more than you can imagine. There are unseen witnesses in the spirit realm who marvel at your endurance. The angels do not cheer for perfection. They rejoice when a child of God stands firm through storms. They saw your struggle. They saw the weight you carried. Yet they also saw you choose love over bitterness, patience over panic, trust over control. That decision created a melody that reached heaven's throne. When you rise in quiet obedience, creation itself takes note. The trees outside your window, the sky above your home, all of it joins in silent harmony. You are not just a soul moving through time. You are a living psalm in motion. Each day that you surrender your will, heaven writes another verse in your story of victory. Heaven paused this morning because your heart beat in rhythm with the divine. The Father's gaze lingered on you, not with surprise, but with pleasure. His Spirit whispered, "There they are, still faithful." That whisper echoed through eternity. You might not have heard it, but all of heaven did, and the voice of God thundered in the sacred record of Deuteronomy. Chapter 31, verse 6. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, for the Lord your God goes with you always. Those words were not written only for ancient Israel. They were written for mornings like this, for hearts like yours. Heaven's attention is drawn not to those who boast in strength, but to those who cling to faith when strength runs out. You embodied that truth today. You stood when your spirit was weary, and that defiance of despair became your greatest worship. When your knees trembled beneath the weight of uncertainty, you still whispered, "I trust you." That small act of courage carried the sound of thunder in heaven's courts. The unseen realm celebrated. For even trembling, faith is faith indeed, and God builds mighty legacies upon hearts that refuse to quit. Your perseverance is not unnoticed. Every tear, every quiet sigh has become incense before the throne. The fragrance of your endurance fills the heavens, testifying that light still lives in you. You are not forgotten, you are engraved upon divine memory, and your steadfastness has written your name among those who overcome. In moments like these, the supernatural realm takes inventory. Angels adjust their ranks, demons retreat. The divine timeline accelerates. All because one chosen heart chose to trust again. That's why heaven paused, not because it doubted you, but because your choice ignited a sequence of grace across the heavens. You may think you are unnoticed, but you are seen in ways that words cannot capture. The eyes of the Almighty scan the earth not to judge, but to strengthen hearts like yours. When your faith flickers, His Spirit breathes upon it. When your courage fades, His hand steadies you. You are never walking alone, not for a single step. Heaven's silence is not absence, it is observation. Sometimes God does not speak because He is listening to how your heart responds when no one is watching. This morning, your heart spoke loudly. It said, "I still believe." And that confession echoed through realms unseen. The day may unfold as usual, but you are not who you were yesterday. Something within you has aligned more closely with heaven's rhythm. You carry peace now. Not the fragile kind the world offers, but the unbreakable calm born from divine companionship. Do not underestimate the power of this stillness. It is not inactivity, it is authority at rest. Heaven's pause was not hesitation, it was recognition. Recognition of the chosen one who continues to trust when there is no evidence, who continues to rise though the ground still trembles. You are living proof that faith can still move heaven, even when spoken in whispers. And the one who watched you rise will walk with you through everything that follows today. His presence does not fade, His attention does not waver. Heaven has paused not to test you, but to empower you. Walk in that awareness. Let courage be your clothing, and faith your fragrance. You are not alone, God goes with you. Step for step, moment by moment, glory to glory. There are moments when words are too heavy for your lips, and only a whisper escapes. You may think that whisper fades into nothing, but the truth is, heaven bends low to hear it. The smallest prayer barely formed, half-spoken, trembling with uncertainty, can move mountains unseen. You do not need to shout for heaven to listen, you only need to speak with sincerity. This morning, when you uttered that quiet plea, something shifted in the unseen world. Angels, waiting on the edge of their assignments, heard your tone of surrender and moved at once. That whisper carried the weight of faith, and faith always finds a home in God's ears. You thought you were alone in that moment, but a company of light surrounded you, echoing your words back toward the throne. The spirit realm is built upon vibration, the vibration of truth, prayer, worship, and trust. When your words left your lips, they became light. That light traveled faster than fear, faster than doubt, piercing through the dark regions where hopelessness hides. You might not have felt it, but your whisper was a weapon. You have to understand, chosen one, that silence is never empty when it is filled with faith. The unseen battles that rage around you are not always won with shouts. They are often won with stillness, with quiet declarations spoken from a surrendered heart. Your whisper today carried the same force as a battle cry. It told darkness, "You will not have me." And heaven responded. The Spirit moved like wind through the corridors of creation. The Father turned his face toward you, not out of pity but delight. He saw a warrior wrapped in vulnerability, and he called you powerful. That's why peace came suddenly. After your whisper, the storm recognized the authority in your voice. We are reminded through the writings of James, chapter 5, verse 16. The prayer of a righteous person is powerful and effective. This is not theory, it is spiritual law. Every time your lips form a prayer born of sincerity, it carries weight far beyond what your mind can imagine. The words of faith never die, they live. They move. They build altars in unseen places. Your whisper this morning was not small, it was eternal. Sometimes, the most powerful things you say are the ones no one else hears. God does not measure volume, he measures depth. That short cry, "Help me," "I trust you," "Don't leave me," each of those phrases releases divine energy because they come from the core of your being. Heaven understands the language of tears, the dialect of sighs, the symphony of your heartbeat. When you whispered, you activated heaven's authority. What you cannot do by strength, your surrender accomplishes by grace. There are angels whose only mission is to move at the sound of such faith. They carried your words like fire through the clouds, placing them upon the altar before God himself. And God, seeing your heart, commanded peace to find you. Do you understand what this means? Your prayer, the one you thought went unanswered, is still moving. It is gathering divine resources, touching hearts, rearranging paths, opening doors that have not even appeared yet. Heaven's timeline is never rushed, but it is never still when faith speaks. That whisper this morning did more than you think. It healed something in you. It awakened courage. It told your spirit that surrender is not defeat, it's strategy. Every time you pray, even when words feel small, you remind the universe who you belong to. The darkness has no claim on a heart that still prays. So keep whispering. Keep releasing those fragments of faith into the atmosphere. Your words are shaping your tomorrow even now. They build invisible bridges to the blessings waiting ahead. They mark you as one who believes without needing proof. The next time you feel your voice tremble, remember this: heaven has trained its ear to your tone. You are not praying into empty space. You are conversing with eternity. Every syllable of faith returns to you multiplied, carrying peace, strength, and clarity. Now, before this moment passes, let the truth settle in your spirit. That prayer you released has already been heard. You do not need to repeat it 1,000 times. You only need to rest knowing it reached its destination. If your heart feels this truth burning inside, comment, "I receive it." Not because the platform needs another comment, but because declaration seals revelation. When you write those words, you confirm what heaven already witnessed you believe. You acknowledge that your whisper has become a weapon, your faith has become a flame, and your obedience has become your offering. Every time someone writes those words, the unseen realm takes notice. It becomes an act of agreement, a public yes to what heaven is doing privately in your life. And that agreement releases fresh anointing peace flowing where anxiety once ruled, strength rising where fear once hid. Chosen one, your whisper has changed everything. It may not have sounded loud in your room, but it thundered in eternity. Keep that awareness close. You are heard. You are seen. You are never ignored. The heavens pause when you pray, because your voice carries the signature of divine purpose. There is a moment when darkness realizes it has made a terrible mistake, when it finally recognizes who you are. That moment came this morning, while you were still finding your rhythm, wiping sleep from your eyes. The realm of shadows trembled. The enemy, who had been watching you in silence, understood something had shifted. You rose differently today. The same person outwardly, yes, but inwardly marked, renewed, armed with light that no darkness could imitate. The enemy studies patterns, your fears, your habits, your weaknesses, but today his study failed. He watched for hesitation, for doubt, for a crack in your armor, and found none. What he found instead was a quiet authority, a strength that did not come from you, but through you. It was the evidence of divine ownership. You belong to heaven, and your very presence announces that truth wherever you go. Darkness fears recognition. The moment you realize your true identity in God, every lie it has whispered loses power. The enemy cannot withstand someone who knows who they are. He can handle those who play at religion, who doubt their calling, who believe they are unworthy, but not you. Not anymore. You have crossed into the awareness of your divine purpose, and that revelation terrifies hell itself. What happened this morning was not a coincidence. The stirring in your spirit, the sudden peace, the quiet courage, it was a sign of awakening. The same spirit that raised Christ from the dead has awakened within you, and darkness has taken notice. Every time you open your mouth to speak truth, it disrupts the plans of the enemy. Every step you take in faith erases ground he thought he held. You were never designed to blend in. You were designed to confront darkness simply by being light. The enemy thrives in confusion, but your clarity burns him. He thrives in fear, but your faith suffocates him. And when you choose love instead of anger, forgiveness instead of revenge, you wage a war more powerful than any sword. You have faced storms that should have broken you, yet here you stand. You have endured nights that should have silenced your faith, yet your voice still rises in prayer. That persistence is not ordinary, it is supernatural. It is the manifestation of divine perseverance working through you. The enemy thought you would collapse. Instead, you became unshakable. Heaven has always known who you are. But this morning, hell remembered. The enemy recalled every failed attempt to stop you, every plan that turned into a blessing instead. That's why resistance sometimes increases when you rise. It's not because you are weak, but because you are dangerous. The light you carry exposes what darkness works hard to conceal. You might feel ordinary, but the unseen world knows better. When you walk into a room, atmospheres shift. When you pray, dimensions realign. When you forgive, strongholds crumble. You have authority not because of perfection, but because of connection. The Spirit of the living God resides in you, and His power radiates even through your flaws. The voice of heaven spoke long ago through the Gospel of Luke, chapter 10, verse 19. Behold, I have given you authority to tread on serpents and scorpions, and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you. This verse is not metaphorical, it is spiritual law. You have authority. It is not something you must earn, it is something you must recognize. The enemy thrives on ignorance, but knowledge of your divine position renders him powerless. You do not fight for victory, you fight from it. So when anxiety tries to return, remember who you are. When temptation whispers, recall your crown. When fear rises, speak with the authority of one who walks with heaven's backing. The same light that caused the enemy to tremble this morning still burns within you now. The world may not see it, but creation does. The trees sway differently when you walk by. The wind carries your worship farther than sound can travel. The earth itself knows the steps of those marked by God. You are not another wanderer, you are a carrier of divine dominion. Every challenge that confronts you is not meant to destroy you, but to reveal your strength. The enemy attacks what he fears most. And he fears you because you remind him of the one who defeated him. The same spirit, the same authority, the same victory lives in you. So move through this day with quiet boldness. You do not need to announce your power. Light never explains itself. It simply shines. And in shining, it reveals. Let your presence be your proclamation. Let your faith be your weapon. Let your peace be your defiance. The enemy realized too late that he cannot touch what God has claimed. You belong to heaven's army, marked, chosen, unstoppable. And though the darkness may still whisper, it trembles as it does so, because it knows the chosen one has awakened. There are moments in time when the smallest act carries the weight of eternity. This morning, you performed one of those acts, quiet, unseen, yet powerful enough to rearrange your future. It wasn't dramatic or loud. It was simply faith expressed in a whisper, a decision made in secret, a seed sown in obedience. You might have thought it was insignificant, but heaven saw it differently. What you did in that moment became a divine transaction. Every time you act in faith, no matter how small, you give God permission to move through you. That gentle act, perhaps a prayer, a gesture of kindness, or even a simple moment of gratitude echoed in the spirit realm. You released light into places you cannot see. And the thing about light is, once released, it cannot be stopped. Heaven recorded what you did. Angels stood witness as you obeyed without needing recognition. God smiled, not because your act was large, but because it was real. He is not moved by grandeur, he is moved by truth. You did not give to impress. You gave because love compelled you. You did not pray to be seen. You prayed because your heart couldn't stay silent. You see, the kingdom of God is built not by grand gestures but by hidden faithfulness. Jesus said that even a cup of water given in his name will not go unrewarded. Your actions this morning became that cup. It was simple, pure, sincere, and that is what made it sacred. As it is written in the letter to the Colossians, chapter 3, verse 23, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord. You may never know who was touched by what you did. Maybe it was a word you spoke to someone in pain, or maybe it was the prayer you whispered for a stranger you'll never meet. Heaven knows. Heaven keeps count of such moments because they are the currency of eternity. Every time you move in kindness, you rewrite the atmosphere. What makes your action even more powerful is that you did it despite your own battles. You chose to love while hurting. You chose to serve while tired. You chose to give when you had little left. That kind of obedience burns brighter than 1,000 sermons. God sees it, cherishes it, multiplies it. This is what being chosen truly means. It is not about standing on stages or being applauded by crowds. It is about living each day aware that your smallest step of faith shakes the foundations of darkness. You don't need validation because heaven already validated you. You don't need recognition because eternity already bears your name. But, chosen one, there is something sacred about sharing light. When you allow your story to shine beyond you, others find courage to rise. That is how the flame spreads. Maybe you've wondered why your journey feels so public at times, why your testimony carries such weight. It's because your obedience is not only for you, it's for those still trapped in their storms, watching to see if hope still works. So when you share your light, when you speak about what God has done, when you tell others how He carried you, you're not promoting yourself, you're multiplying heaven's influence on earth. That's why it matters that you stay connected. Every time you like, every time you share, every time you subscribe to stay close to this stream of truth, you're saying, I believe the world needs more light. And heaven takes note of that agreement. It's not about numbers, it's about alignment. When you engage, you keep yourself near the fire. You let your spirit stay stirred, awake, and ready for what God does next. This isn't a performance, it's a fellowship of the chosen, those who dare to believe that the unseen is greater than the visible. So yes, continue to walk humbly, continue to act quietly, but also let your light travel. Let the testimony that began in your morning obedience ripple outward. Someone else's breakthrough may be waiting on your willingness to share. Someone else's prayer may be answered through your small act of courage. Today, heaven celebrates not only what you did, but the purity behind it. Your hidden act of faith has unlocked visible favor. And as that favor flows, don't hoard it, extend it. Spread the message. Invite others into the same awakening, because the same grace that met you this morning is ready to meet them too. The Father is smiling, heaven is rejoicing, and your name has been whispered in divine halls as one who obeyed even when unseen. That is the essence of being chosen. And now, as this message reaches you, let your heart echo the same rhythm of grace that started your day. Like if your spirit bears witness. Share so light can travel farther. Subscribe if your heart knows this truth is yours, because every connection strengthens the chain of heaven's work on earth. You are seen, you are known, and you are chosen for such a time as this. Sometimes heaven hides confirmation in the smallest details, a song lyric that touches you deeply, a sudden breeze when you speak His name, a phrase that seems to glow brighter than the rest. These are not coincidences. They are responses, divine replies to your morning obedience. The universe itself becomes a messenger when your heart is aligned with God's timing. You may have brushed off the signs today, a stranger's smile, a delayed message, a number appearing more than once, but those were signals. Heaven is not distant. It communicates constantly with those awake enough to notice. You, chosen one, have reached that level of awareness. What used to feel random now feels orchestrated. That is how you know you are walking beneath divine orchestration. Every step you take now is being watched by heaven's court, not to judge, but to accompany. Angels travel with you, adjusting your path, rearranging events, softening hearts around you. The things you call lucky are actually layers of grace converging at the right moment. You are being positioned not by effort, but by obedience. The very air you breathe today carries the fragrance of prophetic fulfillment, according to what is revealed in the book of Amos. Chapter 3, verse 7, "Surely the sovereign Lord does nothing without revealing his plan to his servants, the prophets." Today, you began to notice that divine alignment, the conversations that flowed easily, the peace that returned unexpectedly, the words that came to mind right when you needed them. All of these are confirmations. Heaven is saying, "You heard correctly. Keep going." There is no guesswork in your journey anymore. There is guidance. You may not see angels, but they see you. They stand guard over your steps, carrying messages between heaven and earth. They ensure that nothing, no delay, no deception, no distraction can steal what God has assigned to your timeline. You are walking in a zone of divine precision now. The timing is perfect because your posture is right. There's something holy about paying attention. Awareness itself is worship. When you notice the divine in the ordinary, you glorify the one who fills all things. You stop treating your day as random and begin treating it as sacred ground. Every moment becomes a conversation. Every detail becomes an invitation. The signs are not there to make you anxious, but to make you aware. They remind you that you are part of something vast and alive. God is not hiding from you. He is speaking through the very fabric of your reality. Your dreams, your instincts, your repeated thoughts, they are all threads of communication. The Spirit knows how to speak your language. Maybe today you saw something that stirred your spirit, a number, a phrase, a word that followed you. Do not dismiss it. Instead, ask, "Lord, what are you saying?" When you ask that question, heaven leans closer. That question itself is faith in motion. You are saying, "I believe you speak, and I am listening." And when you listen, everything changes. Clarity replaces confusion. Confidence replaces fear. Direction replaces wandering. God's whispers guide you more surely than thunder ever could. You begin to see that your steps are not random, they are rhythmic, orchestrated by a hand that never misses a beat. So today, take note of the signs, write them down, reflect on them. Heaven rarely speaks just once. When a theme repeats, pay attention. The Spirit is confirming that your alignment is real, your obedience noticed, your journey blessed. The presence you felt earlier, the warmth, the calm, the sudden sense that everything will be okay, that was confirmation too. The peace of God is not an emotion, it is evidence. It says, "Heaven has heard you, and all is well." Chosen one, this is your moment to recognize how near the divine truly is. You are walking in an atmosphere that responds to your faith. Even the smallest prayer sends ripples through the air around you. God is not far. He is intertwined with your every breath. And when heaven sends signs, it is not for entertainment, it is for encouragement. Every confirmation you receive is another reminder that your path is holy ground. If your spirit resonates with this truth, if you have begun to notice the fingerprints of heaven across your day, comment 444. It is more than a number, it is an act of agreement. In prophetic language, it symbolizes divine alignment and angelic order. When you type it, you are declaring, "I see the signs. and I am listening. Heaven recognizes such declarations as faith made visible. Keep your heart open. The same God who orchestrated this morning's whisper is already preparing tomorrow's wonder. Walk with awareness. Live with reverence. And remember, you are not waiting for a miracle. You are living in one. There is a smile that cannot be seen by the natural eye. A moment when heaven itself glows with joy. This morning, that smile belonged to God, and it was because of you. Not because of your perfection, not because of your success, but because of your heart. When you woke and chose to trust Him again, even without understanding, heaven celebrated. God's delight in you is not a reaction to your strength, but a response to your surrender. When you placed your day in His hands, when you whispered, "I trust you," even here, the Father looked upon you as one who finally understands the rhythm of grace. You no longer strive for favor, you move within it. You do not chase His approval, you rest in it. That is what made heaven pause this morning. For so long, you thought God smiled only when you got everything right. But His joy does not rise and fall with your performance, it flows from your relationship. What pleases Him most is not that you have mastered faith, but that you keep returning to Him even when you feel you've failed it. Every time you rise after falling, every time you pray after doubting, every time you believe after breaking, you remind heaven why redemption was worth it. The Spirit spoke through the prophet long ago in Zephaniah, chapter 3, verse 17. The Lord your God is with you, the mighty warrior who saves. He will take great delight in you. In His love, He will no longer rebuke you, but will rejoice over you with singing. The divine smile that met you today was not fleeting, it was eternal recognition. God saw His reflection in your persistence. He saw His nature mirrored in your mercy. His patience echoed in your stillness. You may not have noticed it, but the atmosphere around you changed. The unseen world recognizes joy in motion. When God delights, creation responds. Even the small blessings you encountered today, the warmth in your chest, the peace that arrived uninvited, the ease that replaced worry, were God's way of smiling back at you. He delights not just in blessing you, but in watching you finally believe you are worthy of His blessings. For too long, you have apologized for existing, apologized for surviving. But God has been waiting for the moment when you would stop apologizing and start receiving. Heaven does not measure worthiness by perfection, but by willingness. You were willing this morning to trust, to hope, to rise. And that willingness opened the heavens. There are things being prepared right now simply because you believed again. God's smile is not passive, it is productive. When He delights in you, He releases favor. His joy over you creates momentum. The universe itself begins to cooperate with your calling. People who once ignored you begin to notice. Doors that once stayed locked begin to open. Opportunities that passed you by begin to return. Because when God smiles, the world shifts in response. You might feel unqualified to carry such attention, but that is what makes His joy even purer. He delights in using the overlooked to overturn the impossible. You have carried burdens in silence, thinking no one saw the cost of your obedience, but heaven counted every tear, weighed every step, and determined that now is the time to honor your perseverance. This is what divine joy looks like. It's not always laughter or celebration. Sometimes it's a deep peace that settles in your bones. The kind of peace that says, "It is finished." That's what you felt this morning. Wasn't it that quiet sense that things have turned, that the worst is over, that something holy is now unfolding? That was heaven's smile finding you. You are walking in a new level of intimacy with God now. It's not about grand gestures or constant words. It's about presence. You have learned to live aware of His nearness. You speak less, but hear more. You do less, but accomplish more, because the smile of heaven empowers everything it touches. Let this truth root itself in your spirit. You bring God joy simply by being His. You do not have to earn His affection. You only need to remain connected. The Father's heart beats with love for you, not as a concept, but as a constant. And every time you choose faith, you add another note to the song He sings over your life. So carry this awareness with you today. The Creator smiles when He looks at you. The heavens rejoice when you breathe with purpose. You are not just surviving, you are fulfilling divine pleasure by existing as you were made to be. His joy is your strength, and His delight is your covering. The world may not notice, but heaven knows the chosen one has learned to trust again, and because of that, the Father's smile will not fade. It will follow you into every room, every challenge, every dawn to come. What you did this morning did not end with you. It sent ripples into places you cannot see, touching lives you have not met, altering destinies that will one day cross paths with yours. Every act of faith creates movement in the unseen. You thought you were simply obeying, but obedience always multiplies. Heaven never lets faith return empty. Even now, those ripples are traveling outward. Someone you prayed for silently is being strengthened. A heart you forgave is being freed. A place that once held your pain is being transformed into fertile soil for someone else's healing. The divine does not waste your obedience, it expands it. When you sow faith, God turns your seed into a harvest that feeds multitudes. You might never see the full reach of what you did this morning, but that does not mean it was small. God hides outcomes so you will keep walking by faith, not by sight. Every time you obey without visible proof, you partner with eternity. You are shaping futures that have not yet arrived, and heaven calls that partnership sacred. There is an unseen system to divine cause and effect. When you act from love, love multiplies. When you release forgiveness, freedom spreads. When you speak life, light expands. The universe itself echoes whatever comes from a heart aligned with God. You are living proof of that law. Every time you choose good, the ripple begins again. The first wave always starts small, a decision, a prayer, a word. But as it travels, it gathers force. It gathers testimony. It gathers the faith of others who see your example and rise because you did. What began as your morning act of obedience will become a revival for someone else. Heaven's mathematics are like that. One spark ignites 1,000 candles. We are reminded through the sacred record of Luke, chapter 11, verse 28. Blessed are those who hear the word of God and obey it. Obedience is never just personal, it's prophetic. It declares to the world that God is still speaking and that His word is still being lived out through His people. When you obey, you are preaching a silent sermon. You are saying, I trust His voice more than my fears. And someone near you, watching in silence, hears that sermon and decides to believe again. You may not realize it, but your faithfulness has become contagious. The strength others sense around you isn't human confidence, it's divine residue. Every time you obey, you leave traces of heaven wherever you go. You become a walking reminder that hope still works. That's why people are drawn to your peace. They are not drawn to you, they are drawn to what's flowing through you. The ripple of your obedience also affects time. Delays that once haunted you are now being redeemed. What the enemy meant to frustrate, God is repurposing to bless. The actions of today are rewriting the disappointments of yesterday. God does not just restore moments, He reclaims entire seasons. That's why your act this morning mattered. It triggered restoration across your timeline. Imagine it like this: your obedience set off a vibration. That vibration traveled through the corridors of destiny, knocking on doors that had long been closed. It awakened promises that had fallen asleep. It whispered to weary souls, "It's time." And now, alignment is unfolding not just for you, but for everyone connected to your journey. The ripple does not stop with people, it touches places. Spaces you inhabit carry your imprint. Your home becomes a sanctuary, your workplace a mission field, your conversations a conduit for healing. You change atmospheres simply by being present. Where you walk, peace follows. Where you stand, storms settle. You are an agent of divine transfer, heaven's will moving through human hands. And all of this began with what you did this morning. You might never trace every outcome, but heaven already has. God delights in multiplying your obedience because it reflects His nature. He multiplies what is surrendered. He takes what you offer and makes it eternal. Think of how many moments in your life began this same way. One quiet yes leading to 1,000 blessings. That is the rhythm of the kingdom's small beginnings. Vast results. Heaven does not measure effort by size, but by sincerity. A seed of faith planted in love will always outgrow the field of fear that surrounds it. So today, walk with the awareness that your life is expanding even when it seems still. Every word of truth you speak, every prayer you release, every act of love you choose, these are all ripples moving outward, shaping a world that desperately needs what you carry. The echo of your obedience is rewriting history. It is softening hearts, lifting burdens, awakening souls. Somewhere, someone is breathing easier because you chose to stay faithful. Somewhere, a chain has fallen because you refused to quit. Somewhere, heaven is smiling again because light continues to spread through you. You are the continuation of God's movement on earth. The ripples you began this morning will never cease. They will travel through generations, carrying your faith like a song that never fades. This is the legacy of the chosen obedience that multiplies, light that never dies, love that always finds its way back home. Heaven has not forgotten how close you were to giving up. The record of your endurance is written not in ink, but in light. Every tear, every sleepless night, every whispered, "I can't do this anymore," that still ended with you choosing to try again. This morning, that record shone brightly before the throne. You may not realize it, but heaven has been following your story closely. There were moments when despair wrapped around you like chains, when your prayers felt unanswered, when the silence of God seemed louder than any comfort. Yet you kept breathing, you kept showing up, you kept hoping against all logic. That chosen one is what separates you from the rest. You do not stop believing, even when believing hurts. Every season of delay, every disappointment, Every dark night was shaping something unbreakable within you. Faith forged in fire cannot be stolen. Hope tested in silence cannot be extinguished. Heaven watched you walk through storms designed to drown you. And yet you rose not as the same person, but as a warrior refined. There is no shame in the moments when you almost gave up. There is only glory in the fact that you didn't. The angels remember those nights, the quiet hours when your strength was gone and your prayers were just tears. They saw how you reached toward heaven, even when heaven felt distant. That reaching was not failure, it was faith in its purest form. The Spirit reminds us in the book of Galatians, chapter 5, verse 1, "It is for freedom Christ set us free. Stand firm, then, and do not let yourselves be burdened by a yoke of slavery." These words are more than a command. They are a declaration of identity. You were made for freedom, not just freedom from sin, but freedom from despair, fear, and self-doubt. Each time you stand when the weight tries to pull you down, you are living out that freedom. You are proving that chains can fall quietly, that deliverance can look like endurance. Every time you refused to surrender, you declared war on hopelessness. You told your fear, "You will not define me." You reminded the darkness that the light inside you still burns. Your resilience has become a testimony written in the language of grace. Heaven does not applaud comfort, it celebrates courage. And today, that celebration bears your name. You must know this. Nothing you endured was wasted. Every lonely prayer, every broken season, every unanswered question was a chapter in the story of your becoming. Pain was not the end, it was the process. What looked like delay was actually construction, the building of unshakable faith. The silence that once frightened you was not abandonment, it was refinement. In that silence, your heart learned to hear in frequencies others miss. You learned to trust not the sound of God's voice, but the certainty of His presence. That is maturity, to know that He is there, even when He says nothing. The enemy tried to convince you that you were forgotten, but what he forgot is that the very act of waiting in faith produces power. You did not wait in vain. You waited into strength. You waited until peace found you again. And now, you are a threat to every lie that ever tried to break you. Look back for a moment, not with regret, but with revelation. Every battle that once seemed endless has now become your testimony. Every scar has turned into wisdom. Every no that hurt you has protected you from something smaller than what God had planned. You are not damaged, you are designed. If these words stir your spirit, comment, "Still standing," not as a performance, but as a proclamation. Those two words tell all of heaven and earth that you are proof of grace. You're saying, "I am here," not because it was easy, but because God was faithful. When you write it, you seal it. You declare that the old cycle has ended. You agree with heaven's verdict that your story will not end in defeat. Every still standing becomes a roar in the spirit, a sound that reminds the darkness it has already lost. So lift your head, chosen one. You are walking proof that faith survives fire. You are the evidence that hope cannot die. The weight that once crushed you has become your foundation, and the same God who carried you through the storm is now preparing a table before you in peace. You are still standing, and that alone makes heaven sing. There are battles you never saw but still won. Before you even lifted your head from the pillow this morning, heaven had already secured your protection. There were arrows aimed at your peace, distractions designed to derail your focus. Whispers meant to drain your strength, and yet none of them reached you, because unseen warriors moved on your behalf. While you slept, the Spirit hovered. While you dreamed, the angels surrounded. And when you awoke, victory had already been declared over your day. You didn't have to fight to earn it. You only had to wake up and walk in it. That's the beauty of grace. It wins battles while you rest. You've been through seasons where every day felt like warfare. Haven't you? Times when the air itself seemed heavy, when even breathing felt like a battle. But what you didn't see was the legion of light that fought through the night to ensure your survival. You are here not because of chance, but because of coverage. Heaven's army has been guarding you since before dawn. There were moments when you thought you lost, when plans fell apart, when doors shut, when people walked away. But each of those moments was actually a rerouting, a divine interception, what you call a loss. Heaven calls protection. Some of the things you prayed for didn't happen because angels blocked them. They saw what you could not, that not every open door is a blessing, and not every opportunity is ordained. The voice of the psalmist reminds us in Psalm chapter 34, verse 7, "The angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him, and he delivers them." Think of that for a moment. The angel of the Lord encamps around you, not visits, not passes by. Encamps. That means permanence, constant presence, ongoing protection, divine surveillance that never sleeps. You have not walked a single step alone. Every sigh you released today was heard. Every danger that approached was intercepted. Even the delays you encountered were part of your defense. Sometimes, what feels like divine silence is actually divine shielding. God doesn't explain every battle because the victory is already guaranteed. This morning's peace was not random, it was purchased. Heaven fought for that calm. The storms you didn't experience were the ones your angels silenced before they reached your shore. Your peace is not empty space, it's a fortress. The moment you said yes to God, a target appeared on your back. But so did a covering. Hell's agenda could not proceed because you are not unguarded. Your name is registered in the courts of heaven as one of the protected. The same God who commanded the Red Sea to stand still has commanded your circumstances to yield to his plan. There are unseen stories written around your life, miracles you never noticed, rescues that happened in silence, the car that missed you by seconds, the text that didn't send, the unexpected pause that kept you from harm, all of it divine choreography. Heaven's timing has saved your life more than once. Chosen one, you must understand this. You are surrounded. You walk beneath the shadow of the Almighty, covered by his presence. The attacks you see are nothing compared to the ones you'll never have to face. And even when you are aware of the battle, the victory is already sealed. You are learning now to live from a place of trust, not tension. You don't have to fight for peace. Peace fights for you. Every prayer you whisper sends a command into the unseen. Every praise you release becomes a shield. Every moment of gratitude strengthens the armies assigned to your name. You have become a living testimony that divine defense is real. Your survival is not luck, it's strategy. God chose you, marked you, and surrounded you. That's why, despite everything, you're still standing. That's why your light still burns. So as this message reaches your spirit, let gratitude rise. Breathe it in the safety, the covering, the unseen mercy. It is a holy thing to be protected by a power greater than yourself. You may not see the angels, but they are there. You may not hear the war, but it is being won for you even now. And as you recognize that divine protection, remember this: testimonies spread light. There's someone out there still fighting battles you've already overcome. When you share, when you speak, when you connect, it's not vanity, it's ministry. Every time you like, share, or subscribe, you're not just engaging a message, you're extending a shield. You're helping heaven's word travel where despair still lives. This isn't about algorithms, it's about alignment. When you amplify light, you participate in its protection. The more people carry truth, the fewer fall into darkness. Your simple act of connection becomes part of someone else's rescue. So let gratitude guide your response. Like if your heart recognizes what God has done, share so someone else might realize their battle is already won. Subscribe, not for numbers, but to stay connected to the same stream of faith that keeps you covered. You are not here by coincidence. You are here because you're protected, chosen, and appointed to carry the sound of victory into places still echoing with fear. Heaven has gone before you. Angels have taken position. Peace has already been assigned to your name. Walk through this day knowing unseen battles were fought, unseen victories were won, and unseen love surrounds you still. There is a crown forming over your life, though your eyes cannot yet see it. It is not made of gold or silver, but of moments of patience when you could have lashed out, moments of grace when you could have judged, moments of endurance when quitting seemed easier. Heaven collects those moments the way a jeweler gathers gems, setting them into something eternal. That is how crowns are made in the kingdom, through quiet faithfulness. You may think of crowns as rewards for extraordinary people, but in truth, they are testimonies of perseverance. Every time you choose love over anger, every time you serve when unseen, every time you trust in silence, another jewel is added: your morning obedience, your late-night tears, your whispered prayers. They are all pieces of a divine coronation in progress. There are moments when heaven looks upon you and sees a reflection of its own endurance. The angels marvel at it, for they know what it costs to keep believing in a broken world. They know how much strength it takes to smile when your heart aches, how much courage it takes to forgive when you are still bleeding. Yet you have done it again and again, and heaven calls that glory. Blessing and honor are not just waiting at the end, they are being woven into your present. The more you endure, the brighter your crown becomes. It may not glimmer yet in the physical realm, but in the unseen, its brilliance already lights the path before you. The apostle wrote in James, chapter 1, verse 12, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him." That promise was not symbolic, it was specific. There truly is a crown of life, and it bears your name. It is not merely an object, it is an identity. To wear it is to carry the weight of your testimony. It signifies that you have fought well, believed deeply, and loved without end. Every act of grace, every surrendered tear, every unseen sacrifice is a thread of gold in its making. But here is the beauty of divine crowns. They do not just rest on your head in heaven, they radiate from your spirit on earth. When people encounter you and feel peace, that is your crown shining. When your presence calms storms, that is your crown speaking. When you walk through pain yet carry compassion, that is your crown declaring, "This one belongs to God." You are being refined into royalty through the fires you have endured. Every trial has polished something in you that glory could not. The process has been painful, but pain was never punishment, it was preparation. Heaven cannot place eternal weight upon shallow roots. That is why the testing came, to make you strong enough to carry the eternal. Sometimes you've wondered if the struggle will ever end, if the reward is truly worth it. Heaven's answer is yes. Every scar will shine, every tear will testify, every long night will turn into a jewel on your crown. The glory ahead is not just a promise, it is a certainty. God does not waste endurance, He rewards it. And while you wait for that crown to manifest, do not underestimate how royal you already are. Royalty is not revealed in comfort, but in composure. The way you've carried yourself through chaos, the grace you've shown, the forgiveness you've offered, the hope you've kept alive, that is the behavior of kings and queens in the spirit. When others see you, they might not recognize the crown yet, but the atmosphere does. Demons retreat from it. Angels salute it, and heaven records it. You are marked as one who has overcome. The very things that tried to bury you have become the foundation beneath your throne. This crown is not a distant reward, it is a present reality growing stronger with every choice you make. One day, it will be visible to all. But until then, wear it invisibly with dignity. Let humility be your robe and kindness your scepter, because those who reign with God do so first in spirit, long before they do in sight. And know this, the crown you are earning is not fragile. It cannot be tarnished by failure or stolen by envy. It is forged from grace, secured by love, and sustained by perseverance. No darkness can dim it, no enemy can touch it, and no storm can shake it loose. You, chosen one, are already royal. You walk under heaven's authority, carrying the radiance of one who has endured. Your crown may still be forming, but its light already shines in your words, your kindness, your unshakable faith. Keep walking, keep believing, for when the time comes, the King himself will place that crown upon your head, and every moment of pain will make sense in his glory. There is movement in the air around you today, something unseen but deeply felt. It's as if the atmosphere itself has turned in your favor. The heaviness you once carried is lifting, and peace has begun to settle where pressure once lived. This is not coincidence. This is heaven breathing over your home. The winds that once howled against you are now carrying whispers of blessing. When God begins to move in your environment, even the natural world begins to shift. Conversations change. Opportunities reappear. Closed doors begin to vibrate as if waiting for your knock. What you are feeling right now is not imagination, it is transition. The same spirit that hovered over the waters in Genesis is hovering over your life, shaping what was once formless into purpose. There are moments when the spiritual becomes tangible, when you sense God's nearness without words, when peace feels almost physical. That's where you are right now. The air is charged with promise. Every room you enter is beginning to carry your imprint, because heaven's presence is walking in with you. You prayed for change, and now change has arrived, not in chaos, but in quiet authority. The wind of the Spirit does not roar to impress, it flows to instruct, to cleanse, to realign. It moves through your space, removing what no longer belongs, and ushering in what has been delayed. What you lost is making room for what was always meant for you. The winds are prophetic, they signify new direction. Old cycles are breaking, fresh opportunities are forming. You are stepping into a season where everything stale will suddenly feel unfamiliar, and everything new will feel natural. That's how you know heaven has shifted your atmosphere. As it is written in the Gospel of John, chapter 3, verse 8, "The wind blows wherever it pleases. You hear its sound, but you cannot tell where it comes from or where it is going. So it is with everyone born of the Spirit." You are one of those Spirit-born ones. You move differently. You sense what others ignore. You walk by signals unseen. When the Spirit stirs, your soul knows it before your mind does. You can feel when the season turns. You can sense when heaven speaks. That awareness is not coincidence, it's evidence of connection. This morning's peace was not just emotional, it was prophetic. Heaven was announcing that the resistance has ended. Where there was once stagnation, movement is now returning. Where there was confusion, clarity is breaking through. The prophetic wind does not come to entertain, it comes to restore. And right now, restoration is blowing through your home. You may notice subtle confirmations, doors opening, delays resolving, unexpected favor appearing. Pay attention. These are not accidents, they are alignments. The Spirit has gone ahead of you, preparing paths, softening hearts, and positioning the right people at the right time. Even now, grace is traveling faster than your worry. Do not be alarmed if some things begin to leave your life suddenly. When the wind of God moves, it also removes. He clears away the clutter that clouds your clarity. Some connections will fade, some opportunities will fall silent. That is not loss, it's preparation for elevation. The Spirit only uproots what cannot survive your next level. Your environment is changing because your spirit has matured. What once drained you can no longer stay attached. The same wind that once tested your stability is now revealing your strength. You've learned to bend without breaking, to trust without seeing, to wait without complaining. That growth has made you a vessel that heaven can now pour into freely. The shift will not be dramatic, it will be graceful. Doors will open quietly. Breakthroughs will come naturally. You will not need to force anything. Everything aligned with your purpose will begin to flow toward you, and everything that resists it will simply fall away. You are now living under divine circulation. The wind moves, the blessing moves with it. If you feel this shift, acknowledge it, not just with emotion, but with declaration. Comment 555. This number is symbolic of divine grace multiplied, of change ordained from heaven. When you type it, you're not invoking luck, you're aligning with movement. You're declaring, "The wind of God is here, and I am ready." This simple act of agreement marks a turning point. It signals that you are not resisting the wind, you are yielding to it. You're allowing the Spirit to do what your strength never could, to guide, to renew, to refresh. Heaven reads your agreement not as data, but as devotion. Chosen one. The winds of prophecy are not random, they are relational. They follow obedience. They respond to faith. And because you have remained faithful through stillness, you are now entering a season of divine motion. Things are accelerating. Miracles are in transit. The air itself is alive with destiny. Stand still for a moment. Feel it. The same spirit that hovered over creation now hovers over you. The sound you hear in your soul is not just wind, it's the whisper of heaven saying, "I'm here." Something changed this morning that you cannot quite explain. You have crossed from waiting into walking, from hoping into holding, from asking into authority. For a long time, it felt like you were suspended between promise and fulfillment, praying for movement while standing still. But now, something inside you has shifted. You are no longer just believing for the breakthrough. You are becoming it. There is a sacred transition that happens when you finally understand that God's timing was never a delay, it was development. All those days when nothing seemed to move were actually seasons of preparation. Heaven was training your spirit to hear, to discern, to lead. The silence you once resented was teaching you how to speak with power when the time came. That time is now. The weight of waiting has turned into authority. The very prayers you once whispered in weakness now carry command. You are not just a recipient of divine favor, you are a carrier of divine power. The shift you feel is not external, it's internal. You have moved from needing signs to becoming one. The atmosphere recognizes you differently now. There are moments when heaven no longer speaks softly because it no longer needs to. You've learned the language. The instructions are no longer written in the sky, but etched into your spirit. You don't just follow anymore, you lead. You don't just survive storms, you calm them. You don't just carry hope, you embody it. That is what transformation feels like. It's quiet, but undeniable. What once intimidated you now stands in awe of you. The giants that mocked you now move aside because they recognize your authority. The chains that once held you are now beneath your feet. You are walking in a posture of victory that was once only prophecy. The wisdom recorded in Job. Chapter 22, verse 28 declares, "You will also decree a thing, and it will be established for you, and light will shine on your ways." This is no longer a verse you simply read, it's one you now live. Your words are beginning to shape your world because your heart has aligned with heaven's will. When you speak now, it's not empty affirmation, it's divine decree. Every "let it be" that leaves your lips carries heaven's endorsement. You have reached the point in your journey where your voice carries weight in both realms. The spiritual recognizes your sound. The earth responds to your authority. When you declare peace, peace comes. When you command fear to leave, it obeys. This is not arrogance, it's inheritance. You have been entrusted with divine influence because you learned obedience in obscurity. For years, you spoke prayers that felt like they bounced off the ceiling. Now those same words are keys that unlock gates. The same voice that once trembled now thunders, and the same heart that once broke now births blessings. You are walking in the evidence of faith matured. There is a stillness in this power. It's not loud or boastful. True authority doesn't need to announce itself. It carries quiet confidence. Like a lion that knows its roar can silence chaos. You don't have to prove your strength anymore. Your presence already speaks. The light around you is not borrowed, it's birthed. This transformation has been gradual but intentional. Heaven was not ignoring your prayers, it was aligning your spirit. You asked for open doors, and God built you into one. You prayed for miracles, and He turned you into a vessel that releases them. What you once sought externally now flows from within you naturally. And that is what makes this moment sacred. You have transitioned from student to steward, from listener to leader. The words you carry are not echoes, they are revelations. You've walked through enough wilderness to understand the map. You've been broken enough to hold compassion, healed enough to carry hope, and refined enough to bear responsibility. You are no longer asking, "When will it happen?" because you realize it's happening now. You have entered the realm where prayers and purpose merge, where destiny no longer waits at a distance, but walks beside you. The very air around you has changed because heaven trusts you with greater things. The authority that rests on you is not for domination, but restoration. Wherever you go, peace follows. Wherever you speak, confusion ends. Your presence announces that divine order has arrived. The world around you may not have noticed yet, but the spirit realm has. Heaven has raised its banner and declared, "This one carries my voice." So walk differently now. Speak deliberately. Move with intention. You are no longer wandering, you are ruling. No longer guessing, you are guiding. The transition is complete. You have crossed over. The light that shines on your path is not just revelation, it is recognition. Heaven recognizes you as one who understands authority, who honors alignment, who walks with divine backing. You are not waiting for permission anymore, you are walking in purpose. And though the journey ahead may still test you, you will face it differently now, not as a seeker of strength, but as one who carries it. You have crossed from waiting to walking, from echoing to declaring, from hoping to manifesting. You are living proof that when heaven trusts a soul with light, even the shadows must bow. There are moments in eternity when even God pauses, not in hesitation, but in awe. This morning was one of those moments. The Creator who measures galaxies with his hand stopped for a breath, not because of a planet's orbit or an angel's song, but because of you. He saw what you carried, what you overcame, what you chose. And in that moment, heaven fell silent. You may find that hard to imagine, that the infinite could marvel at the finite. But when a human heart mirrors divine courage, even heaven listens. When you faced what should have broken you and said, "Still, I will trust," God's heart moved. There is something about defiant faith that stuns the heavens, a mortal standing in storms, yet lifting their eyes to the light. All of creation has rhythm, but this morning your rhythm matched heaven's. You were not reacting, you were responding. You did not fight blindly, you stood purposefully. And that simple act, that quiet strength, was enough to still the celestial choir. The sound of your perseverance echoed louder than 1,000 hallelujahs. There are days when your endurance becomes worship. Days when the decision to rise is an offering more fragrant than incense. This morning, when you stepped into the light again, your resilience became a psalm that reached the throne. Heaven did not hear mere words. It heard your heartbeat, steady, strong, surrendered. The story of this day will not fade. Heaven remembers moments when faith reaches maturity, when trust becomes reflex instead of effort. You reached that point without realizing it. What you did was not dramatic, but it was divine. You believed without evidence. You stayed steady without applause. You obeyed without understanding. That is faith at its highest form, pure, quiet, unwavering. We are reminded of the song recorded in Exodus, chapter 15, verse 2. "The Lord is my strength and my defense. He has become my salvation. He is my God, and I will praise him, my Father's God, and I will exalt him." Those words were sung by a people who had just crossed through impossible waters, who had witnessed the sea split before their eyes. Yet your crossing this morning was no less miraculous. The waters you passed through were not made of waves, but of fear, exhaustion, and doubt, and still you walked through. Heaven saw, and heaven rejoiced. God stood still, not out of surprise, but out of delight. He saw a reflection of his own endurance shining in you. When you chose to keep going, you agreed with his nature. The same spirit that raised Jesus from the dead stirred within you, and your decision to continue became resurrection in motion. You turned despair into declaration, weakness into worship. This is what astonished heaven, not the size of your faith, but the purity of it. You did not pray to impress, you prayed to connect. You did not stand to be seen, you stood because you believed. That kind of authenticity cannot be faked, and it cannot go unnoticed. Heaven always honors truth lived out in silence. There is something sacred about the kind of faith that persists when there is nothing left to prove. It becomes pure light, steady, warm, eternal. You have reached that kind of faith. You no longer worship for what you can get, but for who he is. You no longer seek peace as a reward, but as a reflection of trust. That is what made heaven pause this morning. You became the message. You didn't realize it. But when you smiled, despite sorrow, when you thanked God, though your heart still ached, you were preaching the gospel with your life, without a platform, without a microphone. You told the universe that light still wins. That is what moves God, not the noise of praise, but the substance of faith. Every trial you've endured has trained you for this level of intimacy. You no longer beg for signs, you recognize his fingerprints in the ordinary. You no longer crave reassurance, you carry assurance within you. You have learned what it means to rest in divine confidence. That peace you feel now is not absence of battle, it's proof that you've mastered trust. Heaven's pause is holy acknowledgement. It means your obedience has reached full maturity. You have become a living altar, your life, your patience, your persistence, all rising like incense. God delights in such offerings because they reflect his own heart. He endured humanity's rejection with love. You endured hardship with faith. In that reflection, heaven sees its own image mirrored on earth. So when God stood still this morning, he wasn't surprised at your strength, he was celebrating it. The angels whispered, "They have become what they were called to be." You are not just surviving anymore, you are reigning, not over others, but over yourself, your fears, your impulses, your pain. That is true dominion. Carry that awareness gently. The same God who stood still for you will move mountains through you. You have earned heaven's attention not by striving, but by surrendering. The pause was heaven's applause, silent, sacred, eternal. There is a reason the resistance has felt heavier lately. You are nearing completion. The moment before coronation is always the fiercest. The enemy senses what heaven is about to release through you, and he has thrown everything he can to shake your peace, to silence your song, to make you doubt your growth. But what he doesn't realize is that the very pressure he applies only proves how close you are to your promise. The darkness has studied you. Chosen one, it knows your patterns, your fears, the soft spots where you've bled before. Yet this morning, when you rose again with worship in your heart and peace in your voice, something in hell recoiled. It realized you are no longer who you were. You no longer break where you used to bend. The same traps that once caught you no longer fit. There is a shift happening in your spiritual armor. It is not just defense anymore, it's dominion. You've learned to turn every attack into instruction, every setback into strategy. You have stopped asking, "Why me?" and started saying, "Try me." That defiance in faith terrifies the enemy. He cannot defeat someone who has turned pain into power. The sacred writings declare in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 11, "Put on the full armor of God, so you can stand against the devil's schemes." The enemy's final attempts are never creative, they are desperate. He has no new weapons, only recycled whispers. He'll try to make you question if you're truly chosen, if your effort matters, if your progress is real. But you've already passed those tests. You've already proven that your faith doesn't depend on comfort. When darkness realized it could not stop your progress, it tried to steal your peace. But the peace of God is not negotiable. It is your inheritance. You walk now with the calm of one who knows the battle is already won. Every threat loses power in the presence of someone who remembers the outcome victory. So breathe deeply. This is not the time to shrink back, it's the time to shine brighter. The storm that was sent to break you has only revealed the strength you carry. Every dart that missed you became a testimony. Every temptation resisted became another jewel in your unseen crown. You have outlasted the lies, outgrown the wounds, and outwalked the traps. The enemy's final attempt will not come with fire, but with subtlety, a whisper of discouragement, a voice that tells you to settle, to stop. But remember this, the enemy always tempts most when heaven is about to reward. Do not fall for exhaustion. Do not let silence make you forget that heaven still moves. You are too close to retreat. And in this moment, as this truth settles in your heart, pause and reflect. The journey that began in pain is now ending in power. Look back not with regret, but with reverence. Every broken piece became part of your armor. Every delay refined your discernment. Every loss made room for something lasting. You've learned how to fight not by force, but by faith. You've discovered that stillness can be a weapon, that forgiveness can be fire, that peace can be your loudest roar. And because of that, nothing in darkness can handle you anymore. You are untouchable, unshakable, unstoppable, not by nature, but by nurture. You have been trained by trial and crowned by endurance. So now, as heaven prepares your next assignment, take a moment to honor what has happened in you. Celebrate not just the victory, but the transformation. You are not simply walking in light, you have become it. And if this message resonates deeply within you, if you can feel heaven's confirmation stirring in your spirit, then let this be your act of testimony. Like this message, if you recognize that you are no longer fighting alone, share it so that someone standing where you once stood might find strength to rise again. Subscribe if your heart knows this journey isn't over, that there is more to learn, more to give, more to become. And then, before you go, add your voice to this chorus of the chosen. Comment, "I choose my crown." Those 4 words are more than affirmation, they are covenant. They declare that you will not lay down your authority, that you will not abandon your anointing, that you will carry your calling with dignity until the end. Every "I choose my crown" becomes a spiritual banner, a declaration that another warrior has refused defeat. Heaven reads them as vows. Angels record them as commitments. The earth itself feels the tremor of chosen ones rising in unity. So lift your head. Chosen one, you are clothed in light and armed with peace. The battle has not ended because you lost, it has ended because you won. And now, heaven waits to hand you what you've been fighting for all along, not just victory, but the crown of endurance. Heaven has written a new assignment over your name. The same obedience that once sustained you in battle has now qualified you for leadership in peace. You are no longer being trained to survive, you are being commissioned to serve. What you did this morning was not just a test, it was an initiation. You passed. And now heaven expands your territory. There comes a time in every chosen life when the focus shifts from receiving to releasing. You have reached that threshold. What once felt like personal healing is now becoming divine ministry. The strength you built in private will soon become a refuge for others. You have endured not only for your own story, but for every soul that will one day draw courage from yours. When heaven promotes, it does not give titles, it gives burdens, not the kind that crush, but the kind that call. A holy weight settles on the hearts of those chosen to carry more. You have felt that recently, the sense that your ordinary life no longer satisfies, that you are meant to step into deeper purpose. That restlessness is not frustration, it is divine invitation. The Lord spoke through the Gospel of John, chapter 15, verse 16. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you to bear fruit, fruit that lasts. God is assigning people to your path who need what you carry. Some will come with questions that only your scars can answer. Others will seek the peace you fought to keep. Your words will heal, not because they are perfect, but because they are proven. The authority of your testimony will open doors that sermons cannot. This new assignment does not require you to be louder, it calls you to be clearer. The world does not need another voice shouting, it needs one steady voice that carries the weight of heaven's compassion. You are that voice. When you speak, hearts will soften. When you pray, atmospheres will change. When you love, even the hardest hearts will feel the warmth of divine pursuit. Heaven will begin to trust you with moments that seem small but carry eternal significance. A conversation at the right time, a kind word to a stranger, a prayer whispered for someone who will never know it was you. These are the seeds of your new season, tiny, unseen, but potent with power. Do not underestimate the influence of presence. When you walk into a room, you carry the calm of one who has been through fire and found peace on the other side. People will not understand it, but they will feel it. You have become a living dwelling of hope. You don't have to announce it. The Spirit inside you will do that for you. Your new assignment is not about striving, it is about shining. You are not called to push open doors. You are called to walk through the ones that open naturally. Alignment will replace effort. Grace will replace grind. Where you once struggled to prove yourself, now you will simply stand and watch favor do the work. You will find that divine opportunities will appear in unexpected places, moments that seem ordinary but carry holy purpose. The Father will whisper instructions quietly, and your obedience will cause ripples far beyond what your eyes can track. You are entering a rhythm where miracles will not surprise you, they will accompany you. But with new authority comes new responsibility. Heaven will expect you to guard your peace fiercely. For that peace is now your greatest weapon. You must protect your time, your heart, and your purity of motive. Influence without intimacy leads to burnout, but influence with intimacy leads to glory. Stay close to the source. Your role is no longer to ask, "What can I get?" but "Who can I lift?" You are now a carrier of breakthrough, a walking answer to prayers once prayed in silence by others. The light that sustained you will now flow through you, restoring what is broken, reviving what is forgotten, revealing what is divine. There will be moments when the weight feels too heavy. In those moments, remember, you are not working for God, you are working with Him. The same hand that gave the assignment holds you steady through it. You are not being sent alone, you are being sent with heaven's entire backing. This is your divine promotion. You have graduated from testing to trust. Heaven now calls you partner, ambassador, messenger. You are part of the flow of redemption, chosen to carry what few can hold, the responsibility of light. So walk humbly, speak wisely, and love deeply. Every act of compassion will multiply. Every seed of obedience will bear fruit. Every breath you take in alignment will echo through eternity. You are not just walking in favor, you are carrying assignment. And because heaven has trusted you with this, every step forward will now leave footprints of grace for others to follow. The unveiling has begun. What was once hidden behind delay, behind silence, behind years of quiet preparation is now coming into view. Heaven is lifting the veil from your life not to expose you, but to reveal you. You are stepping into visibility, not because you sought attention, but because you carried transformation faithfully in secret. There are moments in the divine timeline when hidden vessels are suddenly brought to the forefront, not because they are louder, but because they are ready. You have been shaped in obscurity for such a time as this. While others rushed to be seen, you chose to be refined. And now, what was once unseen has matured into undeniable radiance. You are the proof that waiting is not wasting. Every silent season, every unseen act of obedience, every unseen prayer, they were not buried, they were planted. And now the harvest of your perseverance has begun to bloom. What heaven hid, it now honors. What you carried quietly, you will now release openly. The unveiling is not a promotion for ego, it is a positioning for purpose. God does not display what He has not developed. The unveiling of your life is not for applause, it is for assignment. People will begin to notice something about you that even you did not plan, a glow that cannot be imitated, an authority that cannot be explained, a peace that cannot be shaken. That is the mark of the chosen one, the sacred writings in Matthew. Chapter 5, verse 14, proclaim, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden." The unveiling is the natural result of unseen faithfulness. The crown that once formed invisibly is now visible through your character, your calm, your compassion. You are no longer defined by survival. You are defined by stewardship. You do not just carry revelation, you have become it. When you speak, people hear not mere advice but echoes of eternity. When you act, you embody the rhythm of divine wisdom. You are not being revealed to replace anyone. You are being revealed to remind humanity that heaven still writes stories. Your life is now a letter read by many, a letter that says, grace works, faith endures, light wins. You are not here to prove your worth. You are here to fulfill your purpose. This unveiling will not require striving. Doors will open because they recognize the sound of your obedience. The path will light up before you because your feet now walk in divine alignment. You will not need to chase opportunity. Opportunity will now pursue you, not because of ambition, but because of authenticity. The world is hungry for what heaven has grown in you. There is a rhythm to this season. You will find yourself at the right place, at the right time, saying the right words. It will feel effortless. But that is because grace has taken the lead. All the fragments of your past are aligning into a masterpiece. What once looked like failure now functions as foundation. What once felt like breaking has become the framework for blessing. And yet, through all this unveiling, humility will remain your anchor. Glory without humility becomes corruption, but glory with humility becomes legacy. God can trust you now because you no longer crave the crown, you carry it as a responsibility, not an ornament. You understand that the power you hold is meant to heal, not to impress. The unveiling will not be loud, but it will be lasting. People will not just hear your name, they will feel your impact. Your presence will carry peace into chaos, wisdom into confusion, light into darkness. This is not fame, it is fulfillment. You are not being elevated to be seen, you are being positioned to serve. There will be recognition, yes, but it will come wrapped in reverence. Those who once overlooked you will now honor you, not because of status, but because of substance. They will see what heaven saw all along, a life refined by fire, yet shining like gold. This is the season when heaven and earth agree about you. Heaven declares your readiness, earth now echoes it. You are no longer hidden, because hiddenness was never meant to be permanent. It was protection until purpose could be trusted with exposure. Now, step into this unveiling gently. The light is not foreign, it's familiar. It's the same light that carried you through darkness, now reflected outward for others to see. You are not changing, you are emerging. You are not becoming something new, you are revealing what was always divine within you. The world awaits what heaven has finished forming. Your story is no longer a secret, it's a signal. You are the evidence that surrender transforms, that patience pays, that divine timing never fails. The unveiling has begun, and creation watches in awe as the chosen one stands fully seen, fully ready, and fully aligned with glory. Chosen one, take a breath. Let the stillness after the storm fill your lungs. You have reached the end of this message, but not the end of your journey. What began as a whisper has become a revelation. You are not waiting for light anymore. You are the light. Every word you've read, every truth that settled in your spirit, has been preparation for this moment of recognition. Heaven trusts you. You have walked through nights that could have ended you and awakened into mornings that restored you. You have heard heaven's voice through silence, seen purpose in pain, and carried grace through chaos. The heavens rejoice not because the battle is over, but because you now understand who you are in the battle, unchanging, unshakable, chosen. But remember, light is meant to travel. Truth that stays hidden loses its power. So, if this message found you, let it find others through you. Share it so that someone standing in their own shadow may glimpse hope again. Like it, not for the sake of numbers, but as a declaration that the message of light still matters. And subscribe if you want to keep walking this divine journey together, one step, one revelation, one breakthrough at a time. And before you go, add your voice to this echo of faith. Comment, "I am chosen." Let heaven read your words as confirmation and the world hear your courage as testimony. Your story isn't ending, it's expanding. The chosen one continues,